It is once again Friday, 5:30 in the p.m., and I'm your host for the next 25 minutes of Hotline 21, the most interactive television activity in the United States of America. Right here in the city of Chicago, one of the most fantastic, unbelievable cities that there is. A city that was founded by an African American, if you want to call John Baptiste Point du Sable, a Haitian guy. So here we are in Chicago, my kind of town. You know, Chicago, my kind of town. The weather is kind of brisk, it's kind of cold, but at least we don't have any rain. We don't have any snow. We don't have any sleet. We are in great shape. It's cold, yeah, so what? It's colder than this in Alaska. You go up to International Falls, Minnesota, and I'll bet you it's colder than it is here. And so you go to Siberia, and I'll bet you it's colder there than it is here. So just sit back, relax, grab yourself a cup of tea, and as my good friend Garfield Major would say, listen to me. But this is not a listen to me kind of show. This is a show for you. And please gear up and get ready to call and let us know what's on your mind, what you're thinking about. Well, this is Black History Month, February. Everybody ought to do something to commemorate Black History Month. I just had a wonderful time at the Hope Academy with a group of young people at a fantastic school. Oh, let me tell you, I was mesmerized by these students, just being there with them. It's a Christian school, and personally, I don't have any problem with Christian schools. Personally, I don't have any problem, obviously, with Christianity. And of course, the kids were kind of, I think, they weren't expecting me to come at them the way that they did, because as we started, we all sang together a song, and when it was time for me to make my comments, I just kind of started off with that song that said, "O Lord, my God, when I in awesome wonder consider all the world thy hands have made, I see the stars, I hear the rolling thunder, thy power throughout the universe displayed. Then sings my soul, my Savior God, to thee. How great thou art, how great thou art." Well, my point was the acknowledgement of a superior being, acknowledgement of God, a force and a power that we don't always understand. You know, like sometimes we sing a song at my church, so there are some things that something within that I don't understand. There's something that I can't explain. But there's this one thing that I know. My God is real, and I can feel him within my soul. Some people may doubt, and I don't worry about all those things that some people do and all that kind of stuff. I worry about what I do, what I don't do, what I feel. Well, a lot of things are going on in America right now. We have arguments after arguments about releasing FBI memorandums. The government is in turmoil, in a sense, in terms of just the disagreements. But we'll work our way through this. And one of the things that we're supposed to do is to come to terms with a budget, something we have not been able to do as of yet. We're operating off of continuing resolutions. Everybody is always looking futuristically, not thinking in terms of just what decisions you're going to make today, but what decisions you're going to be able to make next week, next day. I've had one of the busiest days. Oh my goodness, I've been as busy as I could be. And I had wanted to stop by tonight the funeral of Judge Cousins, William Cousins, 90 years old, former alderman of the 8th Ward. His funeral services are at the Trinity United Church of Christ, 400 West 95th Street. Unfortunately, I won't be able to go, but I want his family and friends to know that they have my condolences, but also that Judge William Cousins was a good friend of mine. And no, I didn't see him every day, didn't live in that neighborhood, didn't run around to the places, but he would call me sometimes just to talk about situations and issues and tell me about things that we as a people and as a community need to do. And I always appreciated that. So I took to the floor the other day and did what we call a 1 minute. I also did an extension of remarks, and I will get those and get them to his family. And may he rest in peace. Some of you probably have seen Lowry Taylor on some show that I've been on or on my radio show that I do. Well, we had a memorial service for Lowry last night at the Pickett Funeral Home at 5301 West Madison Street. And of course, it was crowded out with people who grew up with Larry, who lived in Cabrini Green as Lowry did, and people of the activist community as Lowry was. And so it was just a good celebration of his life. He died what one would call early, but it was really just a nice going away. And I was glad to see all the people that I saw there. I saw Alderman Walter Burnett. I saw former Representative Ken Duncan. They all grew up in the Cabrini area and they all knew Lowry Taylor. And so may his soul rest in peace. I met yesterday with a gentleman who wants to put a digital factory over in the 3rd Ward. And let me tell you, I was just floored with this gentleman's business, with his company, with his knowledge, with his expertise. And I am hoping that he and the city officials and all will be able to get together and he'll be able to do what he needs. Alderman Pat Dow had a representative at the meeting, and it was really wonderful. So I'm excited about the potential that this business has, and I hope that Mr. Lawrence Griffin and his group are going to be successful, Lawrence Griffith. I said Griffin, but it's Griffith. Had a busy day, started out this morning with Leader Nancy Pelosi, U.S. Representative Jan Schakowsky, and Reverend Jesse Jackson. We were all down at the Cultural Center to talk about taxes and taxation. And so we were delighted to do that. And I left there and went to a breakfast with a group of ministers over at the old St. Pat's Church Mission Center at 740 West Adams Street. Obviously, you can see that that's an area that's near the Loop, near West Side, downtown, Old St. Pat's Catholic Church. And we had a wonderful time there with Commissioner Dennis Deere talking about county government and county issues and what people wanted him to do. I sent one of my associates to the Illinois Library Association's legislative lunch. One woman who worked for me also happens to be on the library board in Broadview. And so she was very interested in that and went. I also met with Mr. Eugene Jones, who is the executive director of the Chicago Housing Authority, and we talked about contracting opportunities. We also talked about the transformation plan. We talked about public housing needs. And then I met with a group of people from Oak Park called the Indivisible Group. And we just had ourselves a wonderful, wonderful discussion about issues that they were concerned about, all the way from homelessness to environmental conditions to the need for affordable housing. So I've had a wonderful day, just a great day. And when I leave here, I got another meeting, and then I'm going to go home. My wife is recuperating from hip replacement surgery, and she reminded me that today is the day that her bandages have to be changed, and it's my job to do it. And so I'm going to end up doing a little nursing and stuff like that. But overall, it's still been a good day, and it's a day that the Lord has made. My good friend Dr. Laverta Hurt was saying, let us rejoice and be glad in it. The governor gave his State of the State address. All of these different public things, we know that they require ongoing work and activity. Nothing is never done to the point where it's settled, it's certain. Some people looking forward to the Super Bowl that's going to be coming up Sunday. I may see one touchdown or so, but I won't be spending too much time watching the Super Bowl. I may get a chance to see the replay or the highlights, but I'll more than likely be busy doing something else. And I've got a caller on the phone, so let me go to the caller. Caller, are you there?
Yeah, how you doing, Coach Davis?
James, I am good. How are you?
Okay. First of all, I want to apologize to you. And every time all this is coming out, what God is showing a lot of these people what they be doing. And like you said, what they do, they don't do. And then, like you said, and then all the God is showing, like what Scott Bell did, God gonna deal with him. And God gonna deal with a lot of these people who doing things behind closed doors. It's like I said too many times, if it was me, Colonel David, you would have called the police or tell me to turn myself in. But all this is coming out. God, it is of God. And sometimes they just get on their knees and pray because it's catching up with them.
Well, you know what we used to sing this song, so you can run on for a long time, but my God Almighty is going to cut you down. Tell
And
that
Colonel,
long-tongued liar. Tell that gambler. Tell that midnight rambler. Tell all of those people you can run on and you can run for a long time, but my God Almighty going to cut you down.
Colonel David.
Yes, sir.
But the media said it happened to kill Fox, though, but I don't know. I don't know. That's what the media said. I don't know. Kill
Well,
Fox,
one thing about it, anybody can say what they want to say, but you know what you know.
Uh-huh.
Ain't that right?
Yeah, because God going to deal with them. Y'all have
All
a nice day,
right.
Colonel David.
Well, James, thank you so much. It's always a pleasure, and you have yourself a wonderful weekend. All right, we'll go to our next caller. Caller, are you there?
Yes, I am. Thank you for taking my call, Congressman.
Thank you.
I have a great deal of respect for you. I mean, you're an educated man, thoughtful, introspective. In other words, everything that the current holder of the White House, occupant of the White House, I should say, is not. And it's wonderful that we have people such as yourself, because institutional memory is essential. And as we see in this administration, what happens in terms of governance when you have someone who sits at the top seat of power in our country who doesn't have a clue as to how laws are made, how governing is done. It's just amazing that this country managed to elect someone such as this. And our only savior is in people such as yourself, who can preserve the democracy and our constitutional republic, because you know how it's supposed to run as opposed to what the current idiot in chief thinks. And I think it's wonderful that you raised the whole issue of the Super Bowl. I think it's a great American institution, but on the other hand, I would love to see a day when the streets were as empty on Election Day as they are during the Super Bowl. It's amazing how America comes to a stop on Super Bowl Sunday. I mean, you have a chance, drive down the street or, go into a restaurant or somewhere. You'll find no one there because America comes to a stop. But on Election Day, no. We're all about doing the other things that interest us while someone else decides who's going to make policy that affects us.
Let me ask you, how do we infuse into the American psyche that people ought to be excited about this electoral thing that we do? How do we make it happen?
Oh, that is a difficult question. As you know, because you've been at this for a long time, when we lowered the voting age to 18, you had a large number of young people who actually became part of the process. Now, in the last 4 election cycles, you've seen that diminish to about half of what it was when we gave the vote to 18-year-olds. And telling us one thing, that, just because you give people the opportunity to participate doesn't mean they want to. And the older you are, the more interested you are in politics. The younger you are, the less interested. Now, one of the things that we could do, because you can't force people to be interested in something, and I would argue that there are too many distractions. People care more about what Kim Kardashian is doing today than what their congressman is doing. But what we could do is set aside one day every couple of years where we go to the polls. And you know what? You get a couple of hours paid time from off of work to go cast your vote. It should not be a penalty, because that's what it is essentially, that between getting your kids to school and going to work and whatnot, some people simply cannot find the time to vote. And I don't blame those people, because we don't, in other societies, they actually take time out and say, you know what, we're going to vote on a weekend, or we're going to vote over a couple of days to give people an opportunity. Here we say you've got until 6 o'clock in the morning, until 6 or 7 in the evening, depending upon the election. If you can't make that time on a particular Tuesday, your vote just isn't going to get counted. And we could do something about that by passing policy that could allow people to actually exercise their franchise.
Well, I certainly agree with you, and hopefully we'll just keep working at it and working at it. I think people feel the government is too controlled by too few people, and that maybe their vote won't mean as much as they'd like for it to mean. But if you don't even do it, you know it won't mean as much.
Right. That's the case of the self-fulfilling prophecy where you don't think your vote counts, so you don't vote. So, of course, then your vote doesn't end up counting, so then therefore you don't get any change. So, and then, of course, that creates another cycle in which the next person says my vote doesn't count. But if we decided to actually turn out, we could get the government that we wanted, but you're absolutely right. People don't think that their vote counts. 70,000 votes in 3 states elected Donald Trump. Don't tell me your vote doesn't count. Out of over 130 million votes cast, 70,000 in 3 states made Donald Trump president. Don't tell me your vote does not
You
count.
mean if 70,000 people had gone out and voted
A different way, yes.
a different way, Mr. Trump wouldn't be the president?
Absolutely. That's the conclusion of examining the electoral math after the fact, out of 130 plus million votes cast. So that should tell people, how, just a few people in each county in places like Pennsylvania and Wisconsin and Michigan and so forth, just a few more percentage points out of Detroit. And we could have had someone else other than President Trump. And guess what? You would not have a Judge Gorsuch on the court.
So it does matter.
Yeah, it's going to matter because people like Judge Gorsuch, as opposed to Merrick Garland, who should have been the nominee, is going to be there for the next 30 years. He's a healthy young man making those decisions instead of a Justice Garland who should have had the chance to be appointed to that seat under the Obama administration. But now,
All right. Well, thank you so much. Let me let this next person in. Please call me again because I enjoyed talking with you.
Yes, sir, Mr. Davis.
Okay.
Congressman, you look mighty spiffy today once again.
Well,
And thank God for your wife recovering, and thank God that you're her husband because you guys are so much in love. That's what pulled her through. But you know what? The gentleman that talked before me, I agree with everything he said. And you know me, I'm always arguing or stating something, but that gentleman is all right because people don't go vote. And they're the first ones to complain. They call shows like yours, great shows, and say, that's crazy. Go vote. 70,000 votes, and maybe we would have been saying President Clinton. You never know. So in the electoral, this is the only word I disagree. The electoral vote has been around for years and years. When Democrats win, they say nothing. But when Republican wins, guess what happens? Well,
all right, let me try to get these other 2 callers in quick. We're about to run out of time, so thank you so much, and we'll start saying something when the Democrats win. All right, take care. Caller, are you there?
Yes, I am.
Go right ahead.
Thank you so very much for being there for us. You continue to do a good job and let your light continue to shine. And those who don't go out here and exercise their rights, that's their problem. But we will continue to educate and work with these young people and fight for our schools to stop closing. See, because number one, when we had our good public schools where we used to have so many different things that was educational to help people survive on the streets.
All right.
With going out voting. We had Constitution in school where we had student council.
All right. So we need more civic stuff in schools.
Exactly. And we're not going to give up. Keep up that good work.
All right. Thank you. Thank you so much. We'll take our last call. Caller, are you there?
Yes, Congressman. I'll make it quick. And it's a great day to be on God's green earth. But listen to me. I predict we will have the most largest voting ever in the United States when duck come up. I promise you. There will be enough people out there to vote. You can't stop them. Listen, number 2, did you look at the ping pong match last on his speech? What happened was those ants, they finished the game real quick, so I turned it on to listen to it. As long as that man is alive, he going to have controversy around him. It's always been like that, and it will always be like that. But again, you look at the Super Bowl because it's going to be better than looking at Duck on his union speech anywhere. Thank you, and you have a good weekend.
All right, I guess I'm gonna have to watch a little bit of that Super Bowl anyhow. Thank all of our callers, thank all of our viewers, thank all of our listeners. Have a Super Bowl weekend. Do something good for somebody, and we'll see you next week. Take care.